Okay, so last time on Tourist Trophy, we did the two-stroke series, and now it's time for us to move on to our next championship, which in all honesty is not too far gone from the previous championship, except for saying this time, instead of us riding two-stroke racing bikes, we are just going to be riding 80s bikes in general, as we have got the 80s Hero Series. However, I'm a little bit lost on which one of these bikes I should use, so I will have to scroll through and see what 80s bikes I have. Now, I'm not going to use the Yamaha RZ250 because I already used that. Let's see what else we have here. Let's use the... no, let's not use that. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Wonder if I can find that. I think it was a Yamaha I won before when it came to this sort of thing. Although I could use the NS 400R. That might also be a reasonable choice. Well, then again, didn't I use this thing before? Okay, I'm gonna have to check something for a moment. I'm gonna have to check and see what bikes I've used and which ones I haven't. Okay, well, used all those. So... I think the model I'm looking for is the FCR 400, so I'll look for that. See if I can find it anywhere in here. Hopefully I'll find it. I know there's one in here somewhere. Unless it's a Honda. Actually, correction, I think it probably is a Honda. Ah, here it is. The VFR 400R, is it? I think that's the model I was looking for. Yeah, let's use that before I waste any more of your time. Yeah, let's use the VFR 400R, since that's a bike I have not used yet, for our next championship, which is the 80s Hero Series. And these are the eligible bikes we have. So we can use 2 Hondas, 3 Yamahas, 1 Kawasaki, and 2 Suzukis. It's a 3-race championship, as we're heading out to Grand Valley, Midfield Raceway, and Trial Mountain. And all of these races are 5 laps each. So, let's see what competition we have. I was thinking about using the other one, but then I just decided, because I need to get on with this, I eventually chose to go with the Honda. And this is our competition. So we've got a Yamaha FCR 400, a Kawasaki GPZ 400, and a Yamaha TZR 250. And I'm pretty sure in saying speed is not going to be a problem here. Although I will check the top speed of this bike to be sure. I don't think we're going to have any problems here. But as ever, I do have to check these things. Yeah, I should be fine. That'll probably top my bike off at about 154, maybe 155. Yeah, I think we're Gucci in that department. Speed is not going to be a problem here from what I can see. So, let's go. And since I know racing in general is going to be pretty easy if I was to put it on the money, I'm pretty sure this will not be too much of an ask for me to pull off. Since that's more or less what I'm here to do. And up to this point, I'd say we're doing pretty well. And getting past the Yamaha. So it looks like it's more or less going to be another one of those race events where I don't think it's going to be too hard for me to score the win. So we're now halfway through the first lap. It looks like these races are going to be relatively easy for me to get through. And so we are now just 1.8 seconds back. So something tells me this championship is going to be won pretty easily. Especially since I am steadily closing in on the leader. And all of these races are 5 laps long. And up the inside, through the chicane, and now heading through the last right-hander, back onto the front stretch, and underneath the Brembo Bridge. And this race is pretty much mine, from what I can see. As in, I don't feel like anyone is really going to be challenging me here. Especially since it's pretty clear to say that I no doubt have the fastest bike here. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Even though the championship events eventually will get more challenging, and under the circumstances there will be at least 1, maybe 2 races where I just get edged out by the AI. And you know what? I can probably see that happening before the end of this game. Because even though it has been a relatively smooth ride up to this point, in terms of the championship events, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 championship events up to this point where I feel like I will more or less concede at least 1 loss. But as to when that happens, well, we'll just have to wait and see. But right now, it's more or less been smooth sailing, and I feel like it's going to stay that way. Because of just how entangled I am with success at the moment. And also because, well, I very clearly have a bad fast bike as well, which also helps. And I'm now 8 seconds clear of my main rival, and I almost slipped over, but I just managed to hold on before I got my hand back on the throttle. And it looks like things are more or less going to remain the same. Anyway, 9.8 seconds is the gap. And it looks like we are more or less going to very much be in it to win it. Oh! shit. Okay. That was a jump scare and a half, but I somehow held on. I really thought for sure that was gonna result in me falling off, but I somehow managed to hold on. I somehow, some way, managed to stay in control of my bike. And since this race is a long one, I kind of figured this was more or less going to be one of those easy wins on pure pace, almost with practically no real competition from the opposition whatsoever, and in spite of me having that double whammy on the curbs, I somehow, some way, managed to set a new best lap time. And I'm honestly amazed to say that I've actually stayed on top of my bike for this long now. And that's where that ends. Well, had to happen sooner or later. It was just a simple matter of when it was going to happen. Oh, fuck me. And I just did it again. Okay, just because I'm leading with as much of a gap as I have right now, it does not automatically mean I can just start racking myself to hell and back again, to the point of where I might actually lose this race. To the point of where I will basically do everything in my power to somehow lose this race. You still have to stay in front regardless, and you also have to make sure that you're still on top of the bike either way, and you're still keeping yourself in control regardless. Also, I have now ridden for 11 miles up to this point, which definitely makes this probably one of the longest races I have ridden so far in this game. And this I am pretty sure will be far from the last. But this time, things are actually going pretty well, in spite of me having that double whammy. Anyway, final lap, and it doesn't look like anyone else is going to make it to the finish line before me, even with that double whammy I had on the previous lap. Yep, I am 15 seconds clear. So that pretty much tells you everything there is to know about just how much of a likelihood it really is for me to potentially score yet another clean sweep in a championship event. Even though I did have to make a few transmission tweaks on the Suzuki that I used in the last event in order for that to be the case. But either way, that was definitely good hard racing. And it was probably the most fun I've had in a championship event so far, because I actually had to go for it in order to get the sweep, and it just felt so satisfying to just have that sort of experience. And the field at this stage is very much strung out, which is what I would have expected at this stage. But either way, I am pretty much in domination mode now, and that's partly the reason why I am making mistakes. Because I am basically just so laid back at the front. It's honestly ridiculous to think that I'm actually this far out front. But then again, Grand Valley is a long circuit. Hopefully, if it's possible, at the other two tracks we're heading to, there won't be quite as much domination as there has been here. Anyway, easy win. And I set a new best lap time by 2/10. So there we go. The VFR 400R dismantles the two other Yamahas, dismantles the two Yamahas and the Kawasaki. Kind of what I was expecting, in all honesty. Anyway, there we go. I've ridden to an easy win. And now I have to check and see what replays I have up to this point. You know what? I think I'll leave it until Trial Mountain to save my replay, because I don't have one saved there yet. Anyway, one race down, and we still have 2 to go. Okay, here we go. Time now for Midfield Raceway. I'm pretty confident in saying we do not need to make any changes whatsoever. And also with this being a shorter race than what we had at Grand Valley, hopefully it means I will not be basically truncating the efforts of the AI basically well before the race itself really gets going. But nonetheless, I'm still here to win. In spite of all the mistakes I make, I'm still here to win nonetheless. Since that's more or less what I have to do. But anyway. So, 3.9 seconds is the gap. I'm pretty sure that gap is no doubt going to be erased by the time we get to the middle of the second lap, as I'm already up into second through the S-bend, able to keep a hold of the bike, because I know that S-bend has caught me out so many times in the past, and 2.5 seconds is now the gap. Although then again, as I said before, midfield is a much shorter circuit in terms of track length compared to Grand Valley, so that's probably the reason why I have not been dominating as much as I did at Grand Valley. But nonetheless, I still reckon this is going to be a pretty easy win, especially since I am only half a second behind the Yamaha, and I'm looking to take the lead from the outside, give him all the space in the world as I clear him from the outside, and there we go, job done, and I already have a 1.3 second gap that I reckon is only going to increase as we go further and further through the race. And once again, the S-bend very nearly catches me out again, but I do manage to hold on. I can also guarantee that corner will catch me out at least once before the end of this, because, as I have said before, that S-bend is basically death corner on a bike if you get it wrong. And it is fair to say that I am far from the only sim racing gamer who has been caught out by that one kink in the S-bend. But anyway, 4.2 seconds is now the gap, and I reckon that's only going to increase as we go further and further through this event. I do believe this is going to be another easy win for me, and it looks like I'm more or less going to pull away with this one. So, 3 laps are down, and we still have 2 to go. And it very much looks like history is going to repeat itself. In terms of me building up a gap and basically just thwarting the odds of the opposition. So heading through this fairly evenly shaped right-hander, and now heading through this wide hairpin, this rather banked hairpin I might add, and heading down the hill once again now, and heading through this chicane at about 130 in terms of speed, and the gap is now nearly 8 seconds. And still able to more or less have a clean sheet through that S-bend on this bike. So I think it's fair to say that I have been lucky up to this point to avoid calamity. But nonetheless, I ride on. And it looks like at least one of us is going to finish the race behind me. At least one of us is probably going to make the finish line right before the fade, is the way I see things. And 25.6 seconds through Sector 1, entering this long right-hander at about 130, and doing well, doing less than 100 as I head through this switchback hairpin, and heading down the hill now through the chicane at about 133 miles an hour, and everything seems to be going well, and the gap is now 11 seconds, and one last look for good measure through the S-bend. I've surprisingly managed to keep a hold of my clean sheet. And is it going to be a new best lap time? Yes it is. To cap off another dominant race win. 2 victories in a row for the VFR 400. And 12 seconds the gap to the FCR 400. And 14.7 seconds to the GPZ 400R. That race definitely felt a lot closer than the previous one. Anyway, still Noah's Ark in terms of points. I got the 2 wins, the FCR 400 has got the 2 runner-ups, and the Kawasaki has got the 2 thirds, and so on and so forth. Anyway, 2 races down, 1 race to go, and that is at Trial Mountain. So, let's go. Trial Mountain for the last race of the 80's Hero Series. And if this race tells me anything, it's that this is probably going to be about as dominant as I more or less expect it to be, because I seem to have a habit of choosing bad fast bikes when I need to, and also making sure that I ironically continue my parity streak among bikes and manufacturers. So, yeah. Heading through the first tunnel and up to the right-hander. Gap is now 5.6 seconds to the leader. So, because Trial Mountain is somewhere in between both Grand Valley and midfield in terms of length, I would imagine this is more or less going to be another pretty easy win for me by the time we get to the end. So 4 seconds is the gap. So looking like it's not going to be too dominant of a win, but either way, I'm okay with that because every once in a while you expect there to be just a little bit of competition. Still, I definitely had fun with the two-stroke series because not only did I really have to push it in order to actually get all 3 of those wins the way I did, I also had to do it against probably the fastest bike that I honestly think the event itself most likely had to offer. And that was what just made it that much more satisfying. But either way, we ride on. And looking for a move on the inside, as we head through the first tunnel, I get it done. And gap is now 4/10 as we head through the right-hander, and it looks like things are going to be doing pretty well at this time. So, through the left-hander, and through the third tunnel now, and it looks like the gap is going to continue to increase, as I now have a 3-second gap on the Yamaha FCR 400. Again, very much applying the licks when I need to most. And it's fair to say this is definitely something that I believe is going to be another one of those typical JM87 class acts at the front of the field. Unless you discount my little blooper there through the chicane. But either way, I'm very much applying the licks, and it looks like it's going to continue to be that way. As long as I don't spend too much time in the grass, I should be fine. So 2 laps down, again looking like it's going to be another easy dub for me, because my bike seems to be just literally that much faster than the opposition. And I'm convinced in saying I'm gonna win this by at least, I would say, probably 16, maybe 17 seconds. Which, in all honesty, would basically be just after the fade. And the game would not be able to show me any intervals because of the fade. I'm going to assume they must have obviously had their reasons for implementing the fades when they did after race wins. So, 2 laps to go here at Trial Mountain. I almost fall off the bike there, but able to just hold on. And now, heading through this opening kink, and a little bit of a bounce there, but able to downshift. Also, give a slight tap on the brakes so I can make it through. And the gap is now nearly 11 seconds to the leaders. Well, nearly 11 seconds to the second placed bike, which, as you might have guessed at this point, is of course the Yamaha. Because, well, the AI seem to be very content with just running single file at this stage. Which, in all honesty, does not really surprise me. But, again, in this game, you more or less have to expect those types of things. And 13 seconds now, so it looks like me winning by at least 16 seconds is a very real possibility now because of just how I am very much continuing to raise the bar here. And so we continue. So, heading through the chicane once again, and coming so close to death, but able to avoid it right at the last possible second, because I have enough control in the bike to do that. And, yep, 17 seconds now looks to be the gap, so I'd say this is probably going to be a victory of at least 20 plus seconds from what I can see, because that is just how dominant I have been from start to finish. But either way, very much applying one last lick on the AI here, proving of course over why the Honda here is just so dominant. And it looks like I don't have any real competition now. Unless I decide to quite literally fall off the bike a few times. But I know that's not going to happen because, well, I'm just so laid back up front that I would honestly be amazed if anything does happen right at the end, even though it almost did, but either way, doesn't matter. I win by a very comfortable margin, and that was what I expected. So these are your points now, and pretty much Noah's Ark as it always has been up to this point. 30 points to me, 18 points to the FCR 400, 12 points to the GPZ 400, and 9 points to the TZR 250. So once again, easy win, easy domination, and quite simply, no real answers from the opposition. Pretty much applying one last lick on my domination, and there we go. I would honestly say I am about as dominant in that championship. I would honestly say I was about as dominant in that championship as Ford was in the early 90s during the BTCC with their Ford Sierra. Anyway, another clean sweep for me, 18 points for the FCR 400, 12 points to the GPZ 400, and 9 points to the TZR 250. So once again, another helmet, and for winning the championship, we get our first Suzuka 8-hour bike, the Trickstar Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R. You have acquired Trickstar ZX-10R Suzuka 8-hour from 2005, and special equipment Trickstar Suzuka 8-hour. Shui X11 Suruta can now be selected in riding gear. Oh yeah, I should also mention something that I might also consider being worth mentioning, and special number, no, not yet. I will put that on eventually, but just not now. Anyways, I am the champ again, and that's now 9 of our 22 championship events done. And next up is the 125cc competition series, followed then by the 250 competition series. Anyway, 80's Hero series is done, and as I would have expected, annihilation on all fronts. So, you know these stamps on the other side? Well, basically those are the exclusive Suzuka 8-hour bikes that you win from doing each of the championship events. Well, from doing certain championship events, you do win those Suzuka 8-hour exclusive bikes. And we've now got the first of those, the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R, modified by Trickstar. And that is what I will now go and get a look at and show you, because I can do that. Also because it's pretty easy to spot. So here it is, the Trickstar ZX-10R Suzuka 8-hour, our first of 5 Suzuka 8-hour exclusive models. And it also has a headlight, which is even cooler. Anyway, there we go. Another event is done, and that now moves us up to 66.3%. So we've gained 2.2% of progress over winning those 3 races alone. And next up will be the 125cc competition series. And I will now switch over to one of those bikes, because I have one. I'll switch over to... yeah, let's switch over to this one for our next event. And there we go. So, 125cc competition model series is up next.